A bottle of applesauce rests on a worn kitchen table, its amber surface catching the thin morning light that filters through a cracked window. A spoon lies beside it, its metal glinting faintly. The quiet hum of a refrigerator thuds in the background, punctuated by the distant bark of a dog. You are the investigator, hands suddenly cold, eyes scanning the room for clues that might explain why 39 people would reach for that seemingly innocent mixture and swallow it. What hidden force could move a group so completely toward a single, fatal act? By the end of this video you will witness the revelation that lies at the heart of the Heaven's Gate tragedy. The story begins not with a scream, but with two ordinary lives drawn together in the early 1970s. Marshall Applewhite, a former music teacher, spent his evenings with a battered saxophone, the keys sticky from years of use, while his mind traced the rise and fall of notes like the arc of a comet across the night sky. He was meticulous, arranging his sheet music with the same precision he would later apply to his followers' daily routines. Bonnie Nettles, a registered nurse, carried the scent of antiseptic and rosemary oil wherever she went, a habit formed during long shifts in a crowded hospital ward. She habitually tucked a small pocket notebook into the breast pocket of her coat, where she recorded observations of patients' breathing patterns, a quiet ritual that steadied her thoughts. Both shared a habit of sleeping on hard pine boards, the wood creaking under their weight as they turned pages late into the night. Their partnership, forged in shared curiosity about the cosmos and the human soul, quickly evolved into a doctrine that promised something beyond the ordinary. They claimed to be the reincarnations of Jesus Christ and God, respectively, voices that resonated with a mixture of evangelical fervor and the distant echo of sci-fi novels. Their teachings blended biblical verses with references to UFOs, promising followers a chance to ascend to a higher level of existence. 39. Ordinary people, middle-aged, middle-class, lives once anchored to steady jobs and family gatherings, found themselves drawn to this promise. They were individuals who, in the waning years of the 1970s and the early 1980s, felt a growing disquiet with a world they saw as increasingly shallow. A bank teller in a suburb of Pasadena would watch the fluorescent lights flicker above her desk, each buzz a reminder of a routine she no longer trusted. A software programmer in San Diego would stare at the glow of his monitor, the hum of the machine matching the hollow thrum in his chest. They sought a community where the clamor of the outside world could be muted, replaced by a shared purpose that felt both cosmic and intimate. The cult's daily life was a choreography of sensory experiences designed to erode individual boundaries. Mornings began with the sharp clang of a metal bowl as members stirred a cold, gray porridge, the taste bitter on their tongues. The room filled with the scent of incense, cinnamon and sandalwood, swirling in thin, curling tendrils that seemed to lift the very air. After a silent meditation, they would step onto a cold linoleum floor, the tiles slick under their bare feet, and file into a communal kitchen where food was portioned with a ruler, each gram measured with the same exactness Apple used to mark time in his music lessons. Applewhite controlled every facet of the group's existence. He dictated the cadence of their meals, the rhythm of their exercise, the tone of their conversations. He would walk the hallways, his shoes making a muffled thump against the carpet, and pause at each doorway, eyes sharp, listening to the breath of each member. When a member hesitated, he would whisper a phrase, soft, yet edged with authority, about the greater journey awaiting them, the words echoing like a low organ chord in a cathedral. Nettles, with her nursing background, introduced a regimen that blended sleep deprivation with emotional prompting. She would sit beside a member in a dimly lit room, the only light a single lamp casting a yellow halo, and gently stroke the back of their hand while recounting stories of celestial voyages. The thin veil of fatigue would hang over their eyes, and the emotional weight of her voice would settle like a stone in their chest. A striking fact that reshapes our understanding of the group dynamics is the methodical way Applewhite and Nettles intertwined physical austerity with psychological manipulation. They required each follower to adopt androgynous clothing, loose, monochrome shirts that swayed softly as they moved, hair cut short and uniform, the sharp contrast between the soft fabric and the rigid routine creating an almost tactile dissonance. Sexual desire was declared a distraction, a whisper that could derail the ascent. Participants would sit in circles, the sound of their breathing synchronizing, creating a collective rhythm that drowned out any lingering personal yearning. One night, 3 months before the final act, the group gathered in a small living room illuminated only by a single bulb that flickered rhythmically, like a heartbeat. The bulb cast a warm glow over a table piled with empty bottles of vodka, the smell of alcohol sharp and invasive. Applewhite stood at the head of the table, his voice low, carrying the weight of an impending decision. He lifted a glass, its surface catching the light and reflecting fragmented images of each face. Within 6 hours, he intoned, we will begin the final transition. The words hung in the air, a premonition that lingered long after the room fell silent, the ticking of a nearby clock counting down each second. In the months that followed, the members prepared for what they believed would be a one-way journey to a spaceship concealed behind the comet Hale Bopp, which was set to blaze across the sky in the spring of 1997. They amassed a large quantity of Phenobarbital, the quiet clink of capsule bottles against a glass jar echoing through the cramped kitchen. The mixture would be blended with applesauce and vodka, the thick orange-brown concoction swirling as the spoon moved, the faint aroma of alcohol mingling with the sweet scent of fruit. The final morning arrived with a sky washed pale by the early light of the comet's approach. The members wore the same gray shirts, the same short hair, each face bearing an expression of calm that contradicted the turmoil boiling beneath. A soft wind brushed the thin curtains, the sound of fluttering fabric a whisper against the stillness of the house. Applewhite stood before a cracked wall, his hand trembling slightly as he lifted the mixed drink, the liquid catching the dim light and turning a muted amber. He raised it, the glass catching the flicker of the comet's distant glow, and spoke in a tone that was both solemn and resolute. The final reveal is that this collective act was not a random outburst of violence, but a desperately orchestrated attempt to transcend the perceived limits of human existence. The story forces us to confront how charismatic leaders can tap into our deepest aspirations and anxieties. Applewhite, with his lingering habit of tapping a ruler against his teeth, and Nettles, with her habit of checking a patient's pulse even in casual conversation, each represented a facet of authority that could bend perception. Their influence was not a sudden thunderclap but a steady hum that grew louder with each shared meal, each sleepless night, each whispered promise of a spaceship waiting beyond the comet's tail. When we ask what this means for our broader comprehension of cult psychology, we encounter two intertwined explanations. On one hand, the late 1990s were a period of rapid technological change, dial-up connections buzzing, the internet unfurling its early web of forums and chat rooms. People felt untethered, as if drifting without a solid horizon. On the other hand, the cult's meticulous use of technology revealed a sophisticated manipulation technique. Their website, still online today, combined cryptic graphics with early internet design, offering a virtual sanctuary where members could discuss, pray, and share personal reflections. The site hosted chat rooms that echoed with the soft tap of keyboards, the glow of CRT monitors casting pale light on faces that were half hidden, half visible, reinforcing a sense of belonging that transcended physical distance. More than merely a platform for outreach, the site housed a series of seemingly innocent quizzes, puzzles that asked about favorite colors, preferred music, personal fears. Behind the veneer of simple entertainment, these questions acted as psychological profiling tools, gauging susceptibility and readiness for deeper commitment. The data, stored in rudimentary databases, informed Applewhite and Nettles about which individuals might be most receptive to the promise of ascension, guiding the cult's recruitment with a precision akin to that of a surgeon's scalpel. Thus, the Heaven's Gate episode illustrates how an organization can weave together spiritual yearning, personal disaffection, and cutting-edge technology into a tapestry that is both alluring and dangerous. The narrative does not rest on a single cause, it threads together the human desire for meaning, the allure of a charismatic figure, and the subtle, relentless erosion of individual identity through controlled environments. As we reflect upon the lives that vanished in that quiet home, we are left with the image of a spoon stirring the thick, poisonous mixture, the faint clink of glass echoing like a final bell. The members' secrets remain sealed within their bodies, their parting messages reduced to cryptic notes left on a digital forum that now feels like an echo chamber of the past. In an increasingly interconnected world, the lesson lies not in the sensationalism of a cult's demise, but in the quiet, persistent ways in which authority can reshape perception, how a leader's simple habits, tapping a ruler, checking a pulse, can become the rhythm to which an entire group marches toward an irreversible end. The closing question lingers, unanswerable yet vital: can we ever truly grasp the motivations that propelled these 39 souls toward a shared, fatal choice, or will the layers of belief, manipulation, and societal echo remain forever intertwined, a puzzle that resists a single, definitive solution?